Welcome, everybody, to another broadcast of the Skills Not Pills movement. The Skills Not Pills movement is an oasis of hope and inspiration where you can learn self-mastery skills and become your own health CEO. It is a community of like-minded people who know that healing and total transformation are possible because we have claimed our own cures. We've done it. So check out our membership program and resources available at our website, skillsnotpillsmovement.com. And when you sign up on the list at skillsnotpillsmovement.com, you can watch our first live webinar we did for the membership program that was called Dare to Believe You Can Heal. You'll get to watch it right away as soon as you subscribe at our website, skillsnotpillsmovement.com. So I am Carrie Hummingbird. I'm your host and the founder of the movement. And today we're going to talk about healing in ways you never thought possible. That's a juicy topic. I love that topic. And joining us today is Dr. Dolores Fazzino. Welcome.
Well, thanks, Carrie. I'm excited to be here, and I just love what you're doing, having a platform for people to come and be curious enough to find out different options for their health and wellness, because really, health and wellness is an inside job. When we look sometimes outside of ourselves, we kind of get a lot of different answers, and it causes a lot of chaos and confusion, but really it all comes down to checking in within ourselves and connecting with that inner guidance that we have, because we do have a medical team within ourselves that when you are aligned with that, you could tap into that and you're guided as to what your next steps are. And as we know, there's so many different ways to get to health and wellness. What'll work for you, Carrie, might be something completely different for your son or daughter or your mother or even myself, but it's going to be unique to you because you're so unique and everybody's such an individual. It's not a one shop fits everybody. It's that's the beauty of having so many different possibilities. It's like the 1 + 1 = 3 theory. You know, it's like everything's good by itself, but when you start combining things together, they're very synergistic and they're better than what they were as if even they were alone. And that is inclusive of Western medicine as well.
Yeah, I love that you're a bridge. So let me tell a little bit more about you, Dolores, because you have a really interesting background. You're blending some really interesting things together. So Dolores actually is a nurse practitioner, and she has been bridging the world of spirituality and wellness. She's got over 40 years of experience in the healthcare industry, and she's assisted with over 9,000 surgical procedures. She's been gifted since she was a child also with intuitive abilities. So she's a master energy healer and visionary. And so she's always been on the cutting edge, sort of like used to this world, being in one world while in another world and trying to explain it to people. So yeah, so that's like a really unique combination, and that's probably explains why you understand that healing is a multifaceted process. So tell us a little bit about, you work in the healthcare system. What are some of the, what's some of the strengths of the healthcare system from your perspective? Because we want to, we're obviously talking about, adding some skills and some different modalities, but what do you see in the current healthcare system that's actually working?
My gosh, that's, believe it or not, there's many things that are working. We're led to believe that things are like really in chaotic state and we're on the verge of collapse. I feel that with everything that has come to fruition over the last several years is that people who are delivering the healthcare are being more and more aware of what is necessary to heal at a complete level. And, I believe the whole concept of energy is coming into the mix with this. Whereas, many decades ago, it was just like everything was in a box and it was not communicating with each other. I believe now they're seeing the the evidence that everything is interrelated to each other in ways that it never had been divulged to them before. So, and I'll just give an example. Like yesterday, I still assist in surgery. So I was at a hospital yesterday from 7 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock. And I was just assisting on several surgical procedures with, a surgeon that I absolutely adore and love. He really gets it. He's very energetically evolved. He knows that the dynamics of, being in a cohesive environment with good energy is essential to making the machine work effectively. Do you understand what I mean by that? A lot of times in my world, the patient is anesthetized, but they're still very much there in the room.
Yeah, they're present
Energy
at some level.
exactly. Energy is energy. And the thing is that the dynamics in the room, if people are like not in a good state, or they're arguing with people, that really affects the energy of the room, and overall it could affect the outcome of the patient's surgical procedure. As strange as that is, that's going to be a hard concept for people to grasp sometimes, but it's true, and I've always known this ever since I've been in surgery, 30 plus years. I've known that the energy of the room is very essential to help patients get better. So the good thing is that we are seeing that, and people are really bringing that to light to make it, a very safe, nurturing, loving, compassionate environment where there's lots of love that's kind of brought in there, and appreciation. Appreciation and love vibrate at the same frequency. When people are appreciated, and I see this working with this one particular surgeon, you could feel the appreciation because first of all, he's saying, thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you taking the time to spend with me today, because it was the last minute decision that I came in yesterday because something had happened and I was able to rearrange my schedule. But I felt the appreciation, and it just was wonderful. We had a wonderful day together. Patients did extremely well, went home, less pain and everything. It's all part of the mix. So I think what we're seeing is that people are getting the fact that, how we show up in our world really affects what's happening outside of ourselves. I kind of give the example of the ripple effect in a pond. Okay, we have a quiet pond, and you drop a pebble in and it ripples out and affects everything. So the pebble is us individuals. The pool of water is collective consciousness. As we drop our pebble in, it resonates into collective consciousness and it affects that. So whatever that pebble is, being, good thoughts versus angry, not so good thoughts, it's adding to collective consciousness. So I'm a firm believer that for everybody to affect peace on earth, first of all, we need to come with peace within ourselves, and then with that pebble, launch it into that collective consciousness. Because as we work on our stuff individually, people go through their personal growth process, their dark night of the soul. Whatever you're doing to clean up your energy is really playing into collective consciousness as well. You're cleaning up your part, but you're also cleaning up a sector of collective consciousness.
Yeah, and just to bring it to a literal example, because this is from your world, right? So when we get a scrape on our knee, for example, and we go into the doctor doesn't just like put some salve on it and a Band-Aid, like, okay, see you later, or no, it's like it needs to be cleaned out.
Right.
It actually needs to be dealt with. Right. They do some really uncomfortable things that I don't like, and then when it's all clean, then they put the salve on and the Band-Aid and they let it heal. So in the same way, it's like when we're doing our personal work, like we got to go into it. We can't just kind of go like, I'm fine, 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 I'm fine. And like really your vibration is totally not fine. Like there's a lot of stuff under the surface you're just not dealing with.
Right. It's a misalignment.
Yeah. It's like you're saying this, but the feeling isn't that.
Right. Well, and then people say fake it till you make it.
No.
Well, it's just like there that yeah, it's okay to an extent, but the thing is that I feel that it's really good to tap into that because energy is energy. That whole sensation that you're experiencing that you're trying to suppress in your body is energy. And, when we take it a step further, that energy is emotion. And a lot of times people are uncomfortable with emotions. They want to, either stuff it, ignore it, and then pretend it's not there, but yet it's still there. It's uh, it's a it's a bubble of or pocket of energy that wants to be experienced. And when we don't experience it, it ends up being in our energy field. And over time, that energy field gets polluted with so many of those pockets of un, unexperienced emotion that it carries over into your physical body. And then it starts, that's when you really get the 2x4 across your face saying, stop, you need to listen and do something about this. And
Well,
people
and
get an
this is,
illness or, they get, some tragedy happening in their lives. But anyway,
yeah, we don't want it to manifest physically, but that it does if you don't deal with it. And it's not like you just like in the middle of surgery, you don't, in a tense moment, you don't stop and deal with your, you don't go in like, go, okay, I'm going to deal with this really complicated thing inside of me right now. No, it's not about that. It's about earmarking it, going, okay, noted, that thing needs to be resolved, putting that aside for now,
right.
dealing with the present moment, the thing that is happening, and then going back and revisiting it. And I think that's the piece that people skip because they go, oh, well, that moment's done, so I don't have to do that part. But the problem is that your inner self, and I know it's for me and the work that I do with clients is like your inner child kind of goes, you never really came back to me and dealt with that thing. And so, and I
Exactly.
don't trust you now because you said, put it aside. I'll deal with you later. I'll deal with that. I'll listen. And then you never came back and listened. You just went on with your day and had wine or whatever else. And
No,
I'm sitting
you're
here
absolutely
feel
spot on.
unwitnessed.
Because the thing is, in that moment, we did something about it, and that was
Oops. There you go. I just unmuted you.
the pain. The pain of that. Can you hear me still?
Yes.
Okay, good. I had a phone call come in, and never mind. It'll take care of it later. So it kind of unmuted temporarily. So when we kind of decide what we're going to do, it kind of takes the edge off of it a little bit and makes it more comfortable. And so we kind of put it on the shelf, and you're absolutely right. We kind of go unconscious about it and don't deal with it. So it's like those unconscious moments that we know that we kind of went unconscious about it and never went back to it. You're absolutely spot on because, and I agree, your inner child is probably saying like, well, damn.
Yeah, you just ignored
I
me
don't
again.
trust her anymore. Here I go again. It's just like there she does it again,
You just
So
sent me to my room and said, this is a place for adults. Get out of here. And then you never came back to check on me to say, what was that thing you were really upset? What was going on there?
yeah. So sometimes, as strange as this is that, yeah, make a mental note of it. But sometimes if you are, no matter what you're doing, if something comes up, just take a step back and, we can multitask and still be physically present in your surgeries. I mean, for me, it's just like I'm in meditation the whole time. So the thing is I'm in a meditative state, if you want to call it that, but it's just like, but that allows you to be um, hyper vigilant, but also hypersensitive to what's happening as well. Do you understand where I'm going with
Picking up
that?
the nuances. Like you're totally, well, you're very present is what I would interpret that to say.
Yeah,
You're
it's
present with what's happening in you. You're present with what's happening in the room. You're present with all of but you have to, in order to really be present that way, you've got to know yourself.
exactly,
Because
totally,
otherwise you don't know what's you and what's the other person and what's
exactly,
the environment. You've got to know
exactly.
yourself well enough to know what's not you.
And that's a skill set to develop because, I feel that many people who are empathic, that is a hiccup for them because until they learn that or have experienced it enough to discern where they are and who's somebody else's stuff, I've been an empath my entire life. And it's just like, yes, that has been a very, I would say, quality that I've had to really hone in and work with and just learn the discernment part of it. And yeah, it, it's better. And, it continues to get better, but it's something that you have to be mindful of and, realize, okay, I'm not going cray cray. This is my stuff and it's okay. And I see where it stops. And it's just like energetically, it's not allowed to come into my space. And if it's there, I just ask the universe, if this is not my stuff, remove it immediately. And it immediately goes.
This is actually really good to talk about because you're a nurse practitioner. So anybody else who's listening to this that's in a service profession like that, you're dealing with sick people or you're dealing with elderly or you're helping people in that capacity that are feeling unwell, there is this way in which if you're in that role, you probably are a server personality or somebody who's a giver or somebody who's like meant to like guide or help other people, and you're probably really empathic. So
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
managing those things is so important, right? Because we don't want to take on other people's stuff. And I've seen so many nurses in, whenever I don't go to a hospital very often, but whenever I go into those environments, like say if somebody I love is really sick, like my dad or somebody else, you see these people and the stress that they're under, they're like, they can kind of get unwell, like being in that environment because they're taking on other people's stuff.
Right.
So what's your clue? Like, when did you finally realize that, oh my gosh, like because you've been in the business for 40 years, like when did you
Right.
realize you needed a boundary and how did you create that for yourself?
Oh my God. I just remember early in my career that I felt like the life would get sucked out of me. And it was just like I just was exhausted and I got really resentful of, having to go in and take care of people and stuff like that. And for me, I knew that having direct patient contact all the time and being around the families was not what I needed to be doing. So probably about not even 7 years, probably about, I want to say 4 years into my career, an opportunity came for me because I was working, floor nursing, the ICU and stuff like that, where it's really intense. It's a different intensity, but you're always dealing with, life or death situation, but also not only the patient, but their family, the extended family with it too. And it was just brutal. It got to the point where all I wanted to do was work night shift and take care of comatose patients without a family. Seriously, because I didn't have to, exactly. And so I knew it, Carrie, I knew I was in big trouble when I was driving into work and I missed the exit to go to work. And I said, okay, something's got to
Whoops.
stop. So the next thing that came up is I had an opportunity to transfer to the operating room. And I said, well, I'm going to do it. And so I did. And my boss at the time, who was probably in her 60s, she said, what took you so long to get here? So, she knew that this is where I needed to be. And so for me, it was like the beginnings of a love affair that was from many, 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 many lifetimes where it's just like I took to this whole environment like a duck to water. It was like I felt like I came home. But what was great about it is that, yes, you deal with the patients and you don't have to deal with them continuously. They come in, you do your stuff, and they go on their merry way. And if they have to come back, maybe you see them for another surgery or whatever. But long story short, it's just like it cut out a big part of that whole interaction with families and that dynamic. However, it comes with a whole different dynamic. I have to deal with the interpersonal skills of communication with other staff members, with surgeons, with anesthesiologists, with administrators. So it was interesting because um, it shifted to a different dynamic. Even though the patient was still there and was like my responsibility, it's just like you're the advocate for them while they're anesthetized. Basically, you're the spokesperson for the patient, and just dealing with the interpersonal relationships within the department. So I enjoyed that better because it was more about learning psychology from just communicating instead of being, having to deal with the families and feeling that energy of desperation, sometimes the victim type stuff, but that whole like heavy energy around sadness and their family member is not doing well. It's like we're kind of, the walls of the OR separated us from that, if you want to call it that. So everybody used to say, what goes on behind the doors in surgery? It's a big mystery. But what I found, in being involved with surgery for like well over 32 years is that, yes, it's more of a dynamics, and it's about developing your interpersonal communication skills with your peers of
Because
all
if
levels.
we don't communicate, I mean, communication is a really big part of health, because if
Oh,
you
yeah,
don't feel heard, um, you actually can make yourself sick, you know,
absolutely.
by not being heard. And the stress and the anxiety of going into a situation where you're not feeling heard, or, where there's conflict that you feel like you can't cope with somehow, you can't handle the energy of it,
Right.
then it's going to be a stress on you. And a lot of people, I don't know, this is just I've heard this from other people that work in the Western system, that the
Mhm.
answer then is like, well, you use the same drugs that we give our patients. Like if we're stressed out, we're going to go get the meds for anti-anxiety. If we're going to, it's like, because there's this Western model. Is that
Right.
the experience that you've had, that people cope with it that way? Or they're,
You
I mean,
know,
I think that you didn't, because you have a different take on things.
I think that, and I feel that this is changing because a lot of things have, there's been so much transparency over the years with how in different industries things are not working. The bullying part, bullying, whether it's female, male, male, female type stuff, um, male, male, female, female, whatever it is, it's like there's been so much light shed on what is not working in a lot of industries that it's not separate to that particular industry. It kind of goes across the board through all industries. And so I think there's been so much exposure to things that are not working that people are getting more proactive and mindful of that and are very aware. And the tolerance for a lot of that stuff is really coming to a screeching halt.
Ooh, that's good to hear that perspective shared.
Yes, because it's like you can no longer hide this stuff. It's there in your face. And I think taking that a step further from more of an esoteric, energetic state is that when there's much light shed on the world, which there is more light because energetically we're vibrating at a higher frequency, we're taking on more light, it puts the light to where the darkness was.
Which is
So
why
that
it gets more intense for people, because a lot of people would say, well, if there's more light, then why does it seem so crappy? Like, why is
because
it worse?
all this stuff is being exposed and it can't hide anymore.
Hmm.
So we have to deal with it. And so I'm very optimistic because I'm seeing amazing things happen, in situations in hospitals where there's been like poor morale and stuff, where things are starting to, people are working together, and it's about, being kind to people, appreciating people, accepting people, and even accepting yourself where you're at, and realizing, what, I'm not perfect, I'm going to be making mistakes, and I'm just going to mostly be in the moment. So it's really about being in the moment and having fun with it instead of making it a chore, because
Well,
as we know, when it's not fun anymore, it's over, folks.
well, but it's not fun anymore. But I think that, you're talking about surgeries, and I think that's one area where people expect like like they have zero tolerance for mistakes, right? Because that could be your life. So like there's like this zero tolerance. So how do you operate with that attitude within a zero tolerance for mistakes environment?
Well, you know what? I have a differing perspective on it. It's just like I feel you could enhance the environment to the extent where everything's running, everybody's in a good mood in the room. Everybody is, happy, and they have great intentions that the person who's having surgery is going to do well. We will never take the human concept out. So as long as the humans are involved, there's going to be mistakes. We can't, that is never going to go away because that's part of being human. Now, if we have automated intelligence, robots, that might be different, but let's take that a step further. Remember when the plane needed to land in the Hudson back a few years ago with the pilot, and then he saved all these people, but by their automated intelligence or artificial intelligence, they said that he should have been doing something else, and if he did that, everybody would have died. It was
Wow.
proven. So my point
Yeah,
being
there's
is
that ingenuity, human ingenuity or instinct or insight.
exactly, you don't have that with anything that's automated or there's artificial intelligence. You cannot program that into that as of now. Who knows? I doubt that that will ever be because of the humanness that we as human beings have. That ability to tap into our inner knowingness, that higher frequency or God voice or whatever you want to call it, that intuition part of us that just knows sometimes without a doubt this is what has to happen, even though it's counterintuitive to what we've been told or what the textbook says.
So what's your best practice for handling mistakes then?
Handling mistakes is just, well, wow, I make a lot of them. So so it's just like I always look at them as growth and learning opportunities. Okay, it's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing. Yes, sometimes it's a huge lesson, but it's a huge opportunity for growth in, like, it's multifaceted. It's like how you treat yourself with that, how you treat others with that, but also you know what have you learned from that? Because there's always a gift, there's always a learning thing, there's always a gift in that. And for the person who is at the receiving end of that, yeah, it's not comfortable, but there's opportunities for them as well to learn things too. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not like you did this to me and I was wronged and stuff like that. There's always cause and effect to everything that we do. And we all play a dance in life where we're all parts of everybody's show, if you want to call it, our movies, and we show up for different parts of that. And I know some people think that that's not true, but I'm just going to offer a different perspective on this. It's like we all come together so we all can learn and grow. Sometimes, and all this stuff is predetermined to an extent before we're born. But when we come here, we have free will. So we have maybe 25 or 30 different possibilities of doing the same thing, depending on what we choose. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is like I always tell people, we all come into this world with a hand of cards that we play. And these are things and opportunities that are going to allow us to grow at the deepest and most profound level. Sometimes for some people is just like, well, they think, well, I was born with this, I'm a victim to this, there's nothing I can do. There is something you could do. Yes, you're born with this hand of cards. It's what you do with it. Your attitude, your choices, your will to live, whatever, it all comes into it. And for an example, you have a kid coming in without limbs, and then he goes on to be this inspirational speaker because of that. I mean, that's a classic example. He just took what he had and he made something out of that. Instead of, being a victim is a choice too, but it's like he chose something different. So we always have choice in the matter. It's what we do with what we're handed. So going back to being, and you're part of a mistake, it's just like, okay, how am I going to handle this? Am I going to react and be a nasty person or whatever? Or am I going to pull myself back and do some reflection? It's just like, okay, so did part of me say that maybe I shouldn't have done this and I did it anyway? Because we all have those, there's multiple facets that come in here. It's just like, yes, stuff happens all the time, but it's just, I think it's put in our presence so we could learn from it and grow from it. Maybe for an example, this person who didn't have a good outcome in surgery, okay? Um, Maybe he was thinking that I shouldn't have the surgery, but he did it anyway. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that
Yeah.
was a choice he made. So he contributed to that.
Yeah,
It's
and I
not
think
like,
that's what people have a hard time understanding is that your
yeah,
intention really plays
exactly.
into the results.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
what I teach a lot of the people that I coach is that it's so important to listen to that little voice inside yourself. Just because the white coat comes in and tells you that you need to do X, Y, and Z, what do you want? What are you feeling about that?
Because you're going to impact the outcome with your
Exactly.
attitude, with your
You're
belief in it, your not belief in it, your attitude about it.
exactly, exactly. It's like it's not somebody's, not unless you give your power away to something. And that's the other thing. How many times in our lives that we give our power away to something outside of themselves? And I think in the medical industry, you see that quite a bit
All
because
the time.
all the time, because people believe the doctors. And you know what? I could say this because I've been in Western medicine for a long time. Western medicine doesn't have all the answers, folks. It's just like, you have to trust your inner instinct and make the right decision for you. And I think so many people have put that on the shelf and put it on autopilot and are not taking ownership. And then when something happens to them, they play the blame game. Well, you told me that. Well, it's like, no, you had a choice. You gave your power away. So how are you going to, exercise that muscle so you get that back? And that's
Yeah.
really how you heal in ways you never thought possible, because by listening to that intuition, you are led to what your next steps are.
Because maybe if you meet with one white coat and they give you something and it doesn't feel right, and you go, well, but this person was highly recommended, but okay, but I'm not feeling right about it. So I'm going to go interview somebody else,
Mhm.
interview another doctor,
Yeah.
and get
It's
another
like
perspective.
dating. Carrie, it's like dating. You have to, sometimes you have to go through a couple of them to
Yeah,
find
just because somebody else found good results with that person doesn't mean you're going to.
right. And it's all about alignment. What feels that is aligned with you. So when you're aligned with yourself and you know who you are, it's like it's just the law of attraction. You're going to attract people who are aligned with that. But the key piece is like getting getting comfortable with who you are, trusting that inner voice within yourself and making decisions from that place, no matter what's going on around you.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, we're going to wrap up now. We're a little bit past the half hour. I really appreciate you giving your expertise and your time today. And
Oh,
I think that you have an upcoming event.
yes, I have a retreat coming up next May. It's going to be May 15th to the 20th, and it's in Mount Shasta, California. And it's a 5-day retreat called Five Pillars of Extreme Self-Care. And don't let the extreme parts scare you. Retreats are about having a lot of fun, and I'm all about integrating very simple and effective ways to get back to who you are, because that's what it's really all about, making it easy, fun, and simple. And we're going to have a wonderful time. It's a perfect time of the year to be on retreat. And we're going to have some sound healing. We're going to go to a sacred site and do some deep meditation and go to the bowels of the earth and experience what's underneath Mount Shasta and energetically, and that's pretty profound as well. And also we're going to do an energy fire release ceremony. So the work that we do over the days, on the last day, we will release that and allow something new to come in and create something new. So I'm very excited about this. And if people are interested in finding out more information, they could either call me at 760-579-2440, or go to my events page, and it's called events.recoveringhealthcare.com, and that'll take you right to the Mount Shasta retreat. So,
Nice.
Carrie, thank you so much.
You're
It's been a
welcome.
pleasure.
You're welcome. It's such a great thing to connect with more people that are doing this important work in the world and being those bridges between the current paradigms and a new kind of medicine. And
Mhm.
I also welcome everybody to come back and visit skillsnotpillsmovement.com. We're going to be having our October live webinar for the membership coming up in the middle of October, and you can preview the first one to get an idea of what it's all about by subscribing at skillsnotpillsmovement.com. And I hope to see you all there, and everybody have a great day. Thanks a lot, Dolores. Have a great one.
Bye.